When you get what you want in your struggle for self and the world makes you king for a day, you go to the mirror and you look at yourself and you see what that man has to say. For it isn't your father or mother or wife whose judgment upon you will pass. The fellows whose verdict counts most in your life is the one staring back from the glass. Those are the first two stanzas from the poem, The Man in the Mirror, that I was introduced to about 25 years ago, and it's had a dramatic impact on my life. Let me ask a question. How many of us out here have plans, goals, dreams, and aspirations that we try to strive to live up for? A lot of hands up. Yes, we do. How many of us invite friends into that? We invite coaches, we invite consultants, we invite accountability partners into that. But yet we still find ourselves maybe adding the same thing on to the same plan year after year. It's New Year's Eve. Okay, let's get back into the diet again. Or you just have to stumble sometimes with what we're trying to accomplish in our plan. Unfortunately, what we're missing is not the plan itself that's the problem. It's him. What values, what principles, what standards do I strive to live up to? What's important to me? How do I bring my who, the man in the mirror, to the what? Do I count on my accountability partner? If you notice, there's only one mirror on the stage. Why is that? Because I can't blame my accountability partner. The excuses aren't there for anybody else. And yes, I can be hard on myself, but I also need to reward and recognize myself too and give myself a high five every now and then, because it's not all about the bad. We can also celebrate and have wonderful plans, and we're executing on them. And why is that? We're bringing our who to our what. And with that said, I'd like to just have you just pause for a second and join me in this little journey over the next couple minutes. And I want to distinguish between accountability and taking personal responsibility. Because I think accountability is something I'd like to deconstruct, and personal responsibility is something I'd like to build up. I want to share a story with you. Pedro. Pedro is a friend of mine. Met him at the Juvenile Detention Center. Been meeting with him about 2.5 years ago, and we got to the Juvenile Detention Center. I went in one night, and he comes up to me. He says, "Man," he said, "I hear you talk to people and you listen to people, and they can explain what's going on, and you can help them out." And I said, "Well, I can't help you with things you don't want to help yourself with. But I'm really interested in listening to you, Pedro. What's going on?" Well, it was rather obvious. There's a lot of pain, a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, a lot of revenge build up, a lot of emotions into this young kid. Emotions make fine tourists but lousy guides. He knows that all too well, and he's been living it. How often do we have those conversations around values? And I started to enter into that with Pedro. What's important to you, Pedro? Is respect important to you? And what does that mean? What does that look like? What does that sound like as you interact with other people? And what can other people expect from you? And he started struggling with that because, wow, that's something I don't know. As a matter of fact, respect's important, but why are you in here? I would venture to say you probably disrespected someone, didn't you? He said, yes. I said, see, there's a disconnect, Pedro, between who you say you are and what you do. You got these grandiose plans. However, you got to start somewhere else. We need to start with the who before we get to the what. These conversations went on for about 6 months. And after 6 months, Pedro, as he often does, gets let out of the juvenile detention like he did 5 times before. The recidivity rate in there is really astounding because the who's really struggling with their what's. But Pedro got out and we started connecting, and we'd get together every now and then, and what would happen was text messages, we'd meet at restaurants, and I'd listen to him. And all of a sudden, the communication stopped. I thought, where is he at? I called his house. Where's Pedro? Pedro took off. He got upset at school, and he's on the run. I said, wow, he's on the run, so I can't get a hold of him. He's not getting a hold of me. I just wish him the best. Lo and behold, about 4 months later, I get this phone call. Ray, Pedro, where are you? Are you okay? He said, no, I'm not. I'm on the run. I said, that's obvious. I said, let's get together. We get together, we meet. It was rather apparent that he was struggling with something that he knew he had to do, but he was afraid to do it. How often does fear stand in the way of what we're really trying to accomplish, or our self-doubt? Or what is it that's holding you back from doing what you know you need to do? And we said, Pedro, you know what you need to do. He said, I know. If I turn myself in right, or if I do this. And I said, Pedro, you're done with the ifs. If we're going to talk about ifs, I'm not interested anymore. We need to turn those ifs into whens. There's a simple mind shift. Whenever you're going to say if, replace it with a when. You'd be surprised what kind of happens. Something inside you kind of bubbles up or fills up a little bit. You're thinking, ooh, when? Yeah, when's the date? It's a commitment. Claim it, do it. So I said, Pedro, when that if comes to when, you give me a call. And when you do, I'll be there for you, and I'll stick by you. 2 days later, I get a call from Pedro. Ray, I'm turning myself in. Whoa, congratulations, Pedro. It's wonderful to see that and hear that. So I go to his preliminary hearing. Get there, walks in, judge is up there. Judge says to Pedro's probation officer, what are we here for, Mike? Well, Your Honor, Pedro turned himself in. Judge stands back and said, wait a minute, Pedro, I'm not accustomed to that in my courtroom. Usually we're picking people up. He said, yeah, you've done that the last 5 times for me, but I'm here to turn myself in. Your Honor, I'm 18 years old. It's time I start taking responsibility for myself. Turning myself in is a step towards taking responsibility. See, he wasn't focused on turning himself in. He was focused on taking the responsibility of his future. And I got to get this behind me. I want to go back to school. I want to get a job. And Your Honor, I've messed up. I'm ready to throw myself at the mercy of the court. Judge sits back and he pauses. You ever been in that time when you have a pause and you're waiting for the verdict to come down? It seems like forever. So Pedro, and I'm sitting there thinking, what's going to come down from this? Because his attorney said, you know what, you're probably looking at 30 to 60 days. But for a young kid, that's a long time. So anyway, the judge looks and he says, okay, Pedro, you want to take responsibility? It's time to get started on it right away. You're free. But by the way, you're going to report back in 3 months. I want to know if this is for real. More importantly, you need to know if this is for real, Pedro. You don't have nothing to prove to us. You got to prove it to him. Wasn't that awesome? Everyone was shocked. His attorney said, I've never seen that judge do that before. The judge says, responsibility is something I don't hear in my courtroom. Pedro, if you'd have took responsibility, we probably wouldn't be talking here today, would we? He knows what accountability is, but what he's learning is what responsibility can do, the freedom that comes in taking responsibility and control of yourself. So anyway, 2 days after the trial, Pedro wants to get a plan together because now he's understanding the who. Now he's ready for the what. Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate your trust in me. Here's my plan to win. Here's the areas that I'm responsible for. Here's what I'm going to do, and here's the outcome. I'll come back and I'll report back in 3 months how I'm doing. 3 months come, we go to his final hearing. Pedro said 5 words in his final hearing. That was astounding. Judge comes in again and his probation officer. Well, Your Honor, we're here to discuss Pedro and what he's been doing. Here's a copy of his plan to win. Here's what he said he'd do, Your Honor. He's done this. He's back in school. He's done this. He found a job. He's done this. He's taken responsibility for paying off his fines. Your Honor, he's done virtually everything he said he would do. As a matter of fact, he added a couple things on there that you didn't put on there, Your Honor, if you'll notice that. And he's been showing up to my hearings on time. We don't see that out of too many kids of his age. Judge says, wow. Well, Pedro, do you have anything to say? I'm sitting back and I'm thinking, Pedro, don't say anything. He said, no, thank you, Your Honor. Those are the 5 words. The judge looks at him, I'd like to keep you on 6 more months, Pedro, because what I see I really like. And I think it's going to work for you. You're an example for other people your age. And to see him hear that and to watch him feel that as he can be an example for others. Because the example he was the prior 5 years when he didn't know that person, it was a scary one. Judge says you're free to go. After 5 years, Pedro, congratulations. You earned your way into freedom. Wow. Pedro's doing fine today. So that's the difference, personal responsibility versus accountability. You can't scale accountability. Why? It's because no one was around Pedro when he's making those decisions. No one's around us when the moment of definition comes in, do we? That defining time. Who is our conscience. It's in here. We know what's right. Why do we do the wrong? Grab onto yourself. Grab your freedom and your courage. And draw upon that because he's with you all the time. And the verdict that counts most in your life is the one staring back in your glass. And that was important for Pedro to understand that. It's important for us to understand that. It's also not sustainable. It's not scalable. And it doesn't really promote initiative. If anything, it stifles initiative because, accountability kind of creates a fear in the environment and the culture, doesn't it? Especially on teams. We believe in accountability here. Would you rather be on an accountability team or a responsibility team? For everybody's on. They know the vision, the mission, the values. And they understand that everyone takes ownership. They report up. Because you never know. That is life-changing. And I can virtually see in front of myself and other people I've worked with just the freedom that comes in that, in the transformational power in accepting personal responsibility. Because it becomes a 24/7, 365 thing. It's not just where you are, it's who you are. Which leads me to my next story. Because you better know who you are, because you never know what's around the corner, do you? You can have the best grandiose plans and best things that you want to accomplish and you want to dream of, and you're thinking 10 years ahead, retirement. And all of a sudden you get something thrown in your lap that you're not ready for. That day came to me June 2017. Went to bed that night, I was feeling, oh, Melissa, it's coming back, that pain. Haven't felt it in 6 months, but I know it all too well. Sure enough, it came back. Ended up in the emergency room. They said, Mr. O'Loughlin, you've got something going on in there. Let's get you a CAT scan. They got the CAT scan. I'm waiting for the CAT scan results to come back. I know something bad's in there. What's going on? Again, that waiting period, you know what that feels like. And it's not a matter if it comes, it's when it comes. Because it's going to come. And who and how are you going to respond to it? So he comes back, he said, Mr. O'Loughlin, there's a mass in your lower right abdomen, and it's serious. We're going to keep you here for observation overnight. Dr. Wolf will be in tomorrow morning to be able to explain to you what's going on. My wife and I had a long night, as you can imagine, that Sunday night. I knew something serious, and when the news I was going to get wasn't going to be good. So anyway, 8 o'clock rolls around. I couldn't wait for 8 o'clock to get here. I can't wait to talk to a nurse or someone come in my room while the cleaning lady comes in my room. I said, when's the doctor going to be here? Every minute counts. She said she's going to be here at 12:15, Mr. O'Loughlin. I said, okay. So I got 4.5 hours. Beautiful day. Melissa, why don't you and Megan go for a walk? My wife is gorgeous outside. There's a lot, you can imagine the tension and stuff in the room. I need some rest. I didn't need rest. I saw a whiteboard up on the wall. Up on this whiteboard, it had goals on it. I thought, wow, that's my lane. I get that felt tip marker, and I go up to that whiteboard. First thing on top of that whiteboard, what's it say? I got to keep my main thing, my main thing. I know who he is. I don't know what's coming, but I better know who I am, because how do I respond? 10% about life is what happens to you, 90% is how you respond to it. I've heard that, now I'm feeling it. Next thing on the line is, well, I want to know what the problem is, I want to know what the solution. Look at the third one, 120% commitment by all members on the team. I don't know what the war I have or the battle I have in front of me, but I know what I need to bring to it. And I got to surround myself with good people, whatever I got facing me. So that's what I had going on. Dr. Wolf comes in, 10 after 12. Don't you love that? A doctor 5 minutes early. I'm liking it. She knows this is important to me. She comes in and she said, Mr. O'Loughlin, you're right. You have something very much going on down there, and I want to explain to you and your wife and your daughter what's going on. She said, you do have a mass down there. What it is, it's a carcinoid tumor. It's attached itself to your small intestine, and it's serious. But the tumor's got to come out. But here's what concerns me more is you got 4 spots on your liver. Mr. O'Loughlin, you have stage 4 cancer. Wait, no, it's supposed to be down here, this little stage 4 cancer. I know what that means. Just the way Dr. Wolf presented it to me, the honesty, the upfront, candid. Don't flower it up for me. I want to know what the battle looks like, because if I'm going to fight, I want to know who the enemy looks like. So I got everything, and I said, okay, Dr. Wolf. She said, you have any questions? I said, no. But I do have one. I want to go through this with you, Dr. Wolf. I know who I am. I want you to know something, Dr. Wolf. I'm not afraid of dying. Here's what scares me at this time is I'm not going to give this thing my best shot. And to give this thing my best shot, I need the best people with me. I already know what the problem is. I know you explained to me the solution. 2 hours and 15 minutes in surgery, and you're going to get everything, and it was messy. I'll spare you the details. But I said, Dr. Wolf, I want to talk to Andrea right now. Dr. Wolf's what you do. Andrea's who you are. I know the what. I want to line myself around the who. I need a winner. Dr. Wolf, what does do whatever it takes means to you? I need to know. I want her to claim it because we got to do it. There's no ifs in this conversation. She said, Ray, everyone in that room is going to be there for you, and we're going to be fighting for you. We're going to be ready, just like I was ready at this meeting today, and I tell you, she was. And you can tell yourself, can't you feel it when you're in the presence of a winner? You're in the presence of someone, you know there's something different about her. I said, Dr. Wolf, game on. Let's go. So Friday, I had my surgery. I had my surgery on Friday. So what happens after Friday? It was in there for 4 hours and 30 minutes. It was supposed to be a 2 hour and 15-minute surgery. Dr. Wolf, something happened. She said, yes, Ray, we got in there, and it was more interesting than what we thought. Thank heavens, I had a do whatever it takes person in the room with me, because they found some things that didn't show up on the CAT scan. She gave me her everything. She gave me more than 120%, didn't she? All that to say, when you're in the battle, you better know who you are, and then whose responsibility is it to surround myself with winning people? That's mine. No one's going to do it for me. Advocate for yourself, because if you don't expect somebody else to run your plan for you. That's my plan, and I got an amazing team. My wife, my family, the people I work with, and my doctors at the University of Iowa Spectrum Health, and Dr. Dan Bauer, amazing team. Because we never know how much longer we have, do we? And I don't know how much runway I have, but I do know this, my prognosis is pretty good. Yeah, I get injections every 4 weeks. I'm going to get a CAT scan every 6 months to make sure it's behaving itself. It's a carcinoid tumor, it's a neanderthal cancer. I'll have to learn to live with it the rest of my life. God, I wanted to beat it. But no, you're going to learn to live with it, Ray. That's the hand you're dealt. Life's not fair sometimes, is it? But it's not about being fair. It's about being grateful for every day that I have. Because I don't want to be so afraid of dying that I forget how to live. And can't that just numb us? What are we afraid of? Are you afraid of something so much that you're not willing to take a risk? Because that's what brings you alive, is take that risk and win through it. You got another day. So I'd like to close where I started off, with the man in the mirror. He's the fellow to please, never mind all the rest, for he's with you clear up to the end. And you'll have passed life's most dangerous, difficult test if the man in the glass is your friend. You may fool the whole world down your pathways of years and get pats on your back as you pass, but your final reward will be heartache and tears if you've cheated the man in the glass.